Tell me.
Could I have one of those Chesterfields now? Sure. You got it. Match. No, wait, no, I don't bother. I got You're Sicilian, huh? You know, I read a lot, especially about things, about history. I find that shit fascinating. Here's a fact, I don't know whether you know or not. Well, Sicilians were spawned by niggers.
Come again?
No, it's a fact. Yeah. You see, Sicilians have black blood pumping through their hearts. And no, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you see, the Moors conquered Sicily, and the Moors are niggers. So you see, way back then, Sicilians were like wops from northern Italy. They all had blonde hair and blue eyes. But, well, then the Moors moved in there and, well, they changed the whole country. They did so much fucking with Sicilian women, that they changed the whole bloodline forever. That's why blonde hair and blue eyes became black hair and dark skin. You know, it's absolutely amazing to me to think that to this day, hundreds of years later, that Sicilians still carry that nigger gene. Now this, I'm quoting history. It's written. It's a fact. It's written.
I love this guy.
Your ancestors are niggers. Hey. Yeah. And your great-great-great-great-grandmother fucked a nigger. Oh, yeah. And she had a half nigger kid. Now, if that's a fact, tell me, am I lying? 'Cause you're part eggplant. Hey.
You're a cantaloupe. Beautiful.
Shalom. I'd like to say our praise is due unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Akakwadash, double honor to apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learned this truth, and in Kanawak, and I'm going to be doing this lesson. That video that I just shared, right, is from a movie called True Romance, and basically the guy was talking to a Sicilian. The actor was playing a Sicilian, right? And basically, he was going into the history about how the Moors ruled Italy, Spain, all throughout Europe for 1,000 years, right? And our people were in power in the Dark Ages for over 1,000 years. I will get it. Revelation 20 and 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having a key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. So the bottomless pit is known as Europe, right? And the angel is Yahweh Shai, right? And basically, the Lord is the one that sets up kingdoms and brings down kingdoms, right? And a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, right? So the old pagan Roman Empire, right? That was, they were in power, right? Known as the Romans, the 12 Caesars, right? The pagan Roman Empire. And the old serpent, right, which goes back to the garden, and then Cain, which is the devil, and Satan, to adversary, and bound him 1,000 years. So you're under the Moors, right, or the Israelites throughout Europe for 1,000 years. That's why when you go into the Greek Orthodox Church or the Greco-Roman Orthodox Church, they have the Russian icons or the Orthodox Greek icons, and the saints they're dark skinned. They're known as they're basically black. They're dark skinned. I cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nation no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Right, which our people were in power for 1,000 years. Right, known as the Moors throughout Spain. Right, the Iberian Peninsula. Right, and also the Anglo-Saxons and these different European kings, which were Israelites during the Middle Ages, that was in power. And after that, he must be loose a little season. So the little season that he's in, right, where the whole Renaissance, which means rebirth, where they whitewashed the images of the saints. Right? So Job 9:24. Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. He covered the face of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he? And the saints of the judges, which were the prophets, the Israelites, they covered the images, right? Were known as iconoclasm, or they whitewashed the images, right? Which was started in the whole 1500s. Where Michelangelo, he was commissioned by Pope Alexander VI of Rome, and his son. He used his son, and Michelangelo, he painted the image of Caesar Borgia, which is like they depicted him as Jesus, right, and basically a blasphemy, right? So this image, what they have throughout the Roman Catholic Church, the Christian Church, all that's blasphemy, because this is that's all blasphemy, And so it says, I'm gonna get this. This is I'm gonna share this link in the description. All right, and it says, Moorish marvels, a brief history of the Moors in Portugal. Right, so the Moors were in power when going to 711 AD to 1492. So over 700 or 800 years, the Moors were in power in the Iberian Peninsula, known as Portugal or Spain, and they basically they conquered. They had a guy named Tariq. All right, he was a general, and basically he conquered the Visigoths, which were Jake, right? Because the Moors were like most of them were under that whole Islam. There were also Jews amongst them too, right? So it says, Moorish marvels, a brief history of the Moors in Portugal. Portugal, with its breathtaking landscape and riches, has been a melting pot of culture through the centuries. One such influence cult one such influence wow sorry one such if influential culture that left an indelible mark on the country is that of the Moors. The Moors, as Islamic civilization, arrived in Portugal in the 17th century, and their presence lasted over 4 centuries. Right, so it's actually 700 years. So in this article, I this article is I'll divulge lightly into the historical background on the Moors in Portugal, explore their cultural contribution, and uncover the lasting legacy they left behind. Right. Um. So yeah. So you could it has a table of contents, but I'm just gonna bring out some points. I will share this link in the description. Historical background of the Moors in Portugal is to understand the impact of the Moors in Portugal. We must first delve into their historical background. The Moors were a Muslim people of the Berber and Arab descendants who originated through North Africa, right? So some of the Moors, they did have like they were interbreeding. So a lot of them, they also had Ishmaelites and Hamites that were amongst them, right? So they quickly um expanded their empire across North Africa and into the Iberian Peninsula, which includes the present-day Portugal and Spain. In 711 AD, the Moors crossed the Strait of the Gibraltar and established their presence in their region. Right, so um, Apostle Tahar, and I did my research. It says basically a kingdom, an empire. The average empire lasts for 250 years, right? And we know that America, they established this empire for basically 250 years, and we're seeing the decay of their empire, right? And the Moors, their empire was over 700 years, over 1,000 years basically. The Lord made Jake come to power, but the Jake, during the Dark Age, during the Middle Ages, we were fighting against each other. They had family feuds, right? And they were into that whole even though like they used the like they used the scriptures, they had the icons and the saints and stuff, right? But they're into that whole Catholicism. When you go into uh Constantine the Great, right? I believe three something AD. Constantine the Great, he came to power and established Constantinople, and they had the Council of Nicaea, where they basically established the whole, that whole Christianity under the whole Roman Catholicism, right? Which basically it was having the Sunday worship, and all that stuff, which was nothing but paganism, because Constantine the Great, he was a pagan worshiper, right? And all these different orders, like the the Knights Templar, all these different orders, the secret society that Jake has set up during the Middle Ages, right? Because the Templars, right, they were so-called Christians, but they're basically worshippers of the Baphomet, of the goat. So the Moors settled in different parts of the country, with the Algarve region from the Arabic Algen, meaning the west, and the city Selves, and the city of Selves being a particular impact. All right. So my on my mother's side, I have Moorish blood in my DNA, right? That goes back to Spain and Portugal, right? So Selves, its Moorish heyday, was a center of culture, knowledge, and commerce, completed with bustling markets, uh, like it says, palatial homes and flowing mountains, right? So they established these major cities, man, right? And they were master builders. They had a lot of knowledge, right? It says the cities become the cities the cities became centers of trade, commerce, learning. Under Moorish rule, their influence was strong in the Algenta and Algenverse region of the southern Italy. The Moors brought with them advanced agricultural technique, scientific knowledge, and arti- um, archival marvels that transformed the landscape of the Portugal. So their architecture, right? They're master builders, right? They're knowledgeable of you know of agricultural, of the stars, the constellations. They were seafarers, they're traders, so they would go all over the world, right? And they had great trade, right? And they had up cities. They had a lot of universities, places of higher learning. Influence of the Moors in Portugal. The influence of the Moors on Portugal cultural and architectural, I can't pronounce it. Architecture is under Portugal was a hub of intellectual and artistic achievements. The Moors influenced new crops such as rice, citrus fruits, pomegranate, sugarcane. It says revolution Portugal. It says revitalize Portugal's architecture, right? So they would plant seeds, right? They were into architecture, right? So they were planting amazing crops, right? With exotic fruits, vegetables, right? This also advanced that the field of science, mathematics, and medicine, making significant contribution to the intellectual development of the country. All right, then it says, while the Moors might have started as conquerors, they soon provided themselves to be skilled architects, science, and musicians. Right, so they were great builders, musicians. Right, they were very they were very talented, right? We get that in the scripture. I believe it's in Job 10, and I think in it's 11. Job 10, no, sorry, Jeremiah 10, I think 16. Says the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the forerunner of all things, and Israel is the rod in his inheritance, the Lord of the hosts is his name. So the more they brought all kinds of knowledge, to Europe, right? And you damn Edomites were in the damn caves, right? Known as the wild men, right? You damn Edomites was in the slave was like you damn Edomites were in the damn the Caucasus Mountains, right? Known as the wild men, man, right? And we influence, we taught you how to bathe, how to civilize yourself. You damn devils. So Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Right? So these Edomites, they're into that whole bestiality, right? And they're still into that shit, man. Right? Having dogs in their house, sleeping with their, having their dogs, sleep on their bed, kissing their damn dogs. You dirty, man. Yea, were unto the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste. So they were into the slaves, man. Like they were into the, these Edomites, they were driven out, from our cities, and we drove their ass into the mountains, man. All right, that's why the Moors, they had many wars, all right, against the wild men, right? Because because they would come into our city and they would try to kill our people, right? You could go go on the internet and put the wild men and the Moors, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Right, so they weren't civilized. They didn't have a proper language. They would eat from the skulls of the dead. Right, they were nothing but wild men. They're beasts who dwell in the cliffs of the valley, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks, known as the cave. What they call like the Flintstones. They show you that in that cartoon and that movie, the Flintstones, man, right? And basically in that cartoon, it only all the people were so-called white people, man, or you Edomites, because you aren't white, you're red. You're the only nation that's basically that's named after their pigmentation, right? Because Esau means waste away, and Edom, which means red. So basically, you don't have no pigmentation, man. Your blood shows through the skin. It shows through your skin. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. Right? So you were very in a lower state during the Middle Age, during the Dark Ages. Right? And we civilized their ass. Right? And basically, the Borgia family and stuff, they came up to power in the 1400s. After the 1300s, right, known as the Black Plague, where 2/3 of Jake in Europe died from disease because they were, mixing and interbreeding, with these Edomites, and that's why a lot of people died, because it was set up like that for for us to fall, because the 1,000 years was basically about to expire. And then so the Black Plague happened, right, throughout Europe, where the 2/3 of the population of Europe died of disease. And then the Renaissance with the whole Borgia family, Pope Alexander VI of Rome, and the Moors, right, were driven out of Spain, right, and they had to either choose that whole Catholicism or they had to leave. Some of them were actually brought into plantations throughout the islands of like San Tome, Cape Verde. Some of them also they had what's the guy's name? Prince Henry, the navigator. Yeah. So Prince Henry the navigator came, right, which was he was an Israelite, because they were under that whole Catholicism, and basically established the whole slave trade throughout West Africa, right? And so some of the Moors were like certain tribes were defeated and then brought into sugar plantations throughout Cape Verde, San Tome, these different islands throughout West Africa, and going into the Caribbean and Brazil, right? Because Brazil is a Portuguese colony, which the Portuguese established, which were Jake that were colonizers throughout Portugal, right? France, because basically Jake was in power. Jake was in power throughout Europe, like King um, King Louis XIII of France, right? He established New France, right, which was over there in Quebec, known as Quebec, and basically they use Esau. Some of them came as explorers to come scope out the land. They had a Moor known as Matthew da Costa, and basically he was a translator, right? And he spoke many different languages. If throughout he spoke English, French, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, and also Indian, the so-called the pidgin dialect. And also they spoke and he knew how to speak to the so-called the natives, or the indigenous people. And basically he was a key he was like a key translator. So Jake was free. A lot of our people were free. They had a lot of the kings of Europe were so-called black men, and they established these colonies in the Americas. And they used Esau, and basically we end up falling as a nation. We end up falling. But it says it was conquered. It wasn't all conquering and fights. The Moors it says the Moors contributed significantly to the development of Portugal, including new agricultural techniques, aggregation systems, right? So water systems, right? They were, like they knew how to like they were very knowledgeable of these different water systems throughout the cities, throughout homes, right? They had hot water, right? Springs of water, and of course the glorious like ceramic tiles, the advanced building throughout the country. Moorish architecture characterized by uh intricate intricate geometric patterns and ornament and or sorry or sorry, I can't pronounce the word, ornate uh, ornate decoration and flat roofs. All right, and the you and the Christians hand of Fatima, right? So they're into that whole Islam, right? So you could do your own research. It says Portugal, where the Portuguese words was Arabic origin, such as sugar, olive, bearing witness the linguistic influence of the Moors, right? So a lot of the Portuguese, the Italian, also the Spanish, right? Because there's a lot of so-called Moors or black men, right? That's still in Portugal. A lot of them came into here. A lot of them immigrated, into Canada, America, right? So you might there's a lot of influence because a lot of them are gonna look white. They're gonna look fair skin, right? But their spirit is of an Israelite, right? So the Lord is going to give back his people their pigmentation because our seed was spread all throughout the earth, man. I believe it's in Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people, from one end of the earth even to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone." Right? So worshiping Caesar Borgia, worshiping Allah, right? Under that whole Islam, worshiping Shiva over there in India. Yeah, there's Israelites all throughout the earth, man. And you have Israelites in Japan, China, Thailand, Cambodia. There's Israelites that are scattered, that are living amongst the heathen. But I will share this link in the description. All right, and you could do your own homework. You could do your own research. All right. This is one of my favorite topics, going into the Moors. That's why I have over 50 videos just going into the Moors, from now and from 2009. Since I had my channel, I have a lot of videos that goes into the Moors of Europe, and I was influenced by the apostles and also High Priest Arya, and basically, because he was always going to the movie, he was always going to those historical breakdowns and history. High Priest Yeshaya, and they had, and they recorded, these videos, and they, they had, I believe they had they also had I guess a television network at night, and they would go into the historical breakdowns, and the historical facts of the Moors, and William Shakespeare, and all these different things that I didn't know that William Shakespeare was a Jake. Mozart, because Esau has whitewashed and told a lot of lies, man, to our people, right? So that's why Esau is gonna go down, man. You're gonna go down, man, right? Because you have done so much you have done so much lies. All right, Revelation, I believe This is 12. It says, Revelation 12 and 15, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after woman, that he might cause her to be carried away with the flood. Alright, so this is when Esau has come to power with this whole Renaissance art, right, and depicting false images of the saints, classified, and basically call themselves white. Which you calling yourself white, you're trying to say that you're pure, right? But you're really a red devil, right? We're the real white ones, we're the pure ones. The earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed her up the flood after which swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. So the dragon, right, the Roman Empire, right, and now Rome 2.0, and basically with the whole archaeological, I can't pronounce the word, with the whole architecture, but basically where they show the images of the kings. Basically the scripture says the bones of Judah, the kings of Judah, that that they have it. I believe if I could find it. Yeah, Jeremiah 18:1. And that time, said the Lord, they shall bring the bones of the king of Judah, and the bones of the princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of the grave. So this is what Esau is doing. Esau, he knows everything about us. He has he has actual their bones, and they're doing their research, and they know exactly who we are. Right? And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandment of Yahweh, and have the testimony of Yahweh. And this is what's going to happen. They're going to come hard on our people, man. They're going to come down very hard, because their lies, the Israelites has brought all their lies out, man. That their deception, this whole white supremacy or Edomite supremacy, that that Esau has set up, that your history is a lie, and the Israelite is breaking it down, and exposing you, and he's hurt. Esau's hurt, man. Right? So I didn't want to really go too long, but it's a spirit. So with that, I'd like to say our praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kwadash. Double honor to pass our great millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom. I will share this link in the description. Shalom.